CNZ. I've been impressed with what I've seen so far, and I just feel that, you know, Psygib's game is very strong on the basics, but so is CNZ, and I just give him the edge because of that. I don't think he has many chinks in terms of the basic game. We are starting on Insomnia. I haven't seen his map for a while. Keel, as you said, pretty unorthodox here, and so that's what I'm really interested to see, is what is the strategy from CNZ here? He's the one that picked the map, he clearly knows what he wants to do. So, going to be a bit of a lesson for other players.
Immediately making his way over to the railgun. Knows how important that is. Nice shot as well. Now there's essentially no delay between the items, and CNZ is definitely in the better position of the two. Oh, he jumped off Mega, I think a moment too soon. He probably didn't have the exact timing on the Mega. Even though he picked it up first, so I don't really know why he was so quick to leave it. Still, he landed a good rail, nice shots. Perhaps he just wanted to counter his opponent and then have the Mega as the backup, but I feel like he could have picked up Mega, maybe Rocket jumped over. He had the advantage, could have made a move to secure them both, but that's not really CNZ's playstyle, is it? He's the drill sergeant, he's very defensive, very disciplined, not going to put himself in too much of a risk when he doesn't have to.
No, but Scigive's done an amazing job, even though not having the positional advantage, just the spam coming out from him, the chip damage has been supreme, and that's kept CNZ on the ropes a little bit. And one Scigive now positioned up top, got himself a rail as well, and they've been trading items back and forth, so nice job so far. Hasn't obviously converted that pressure into anything grander, but he has the rail now, and this is where he can begin to forge that. There you go, the Tribot's coming out once again, nice rail exchange. CNZ not connecting with anything so far, as I say that, does hit his first. But Scigive having exchanged one as well, more than happy to retreat over to the Mega side of the map, picks that up, actually now in a good position. CNZ hitting himself with their own grenades. Scigive coming out though, they're going to have this long range encounter once again, dangerous by Scigive, but he has the balls to take that rail fight.
Good use of the orb as well. You could see CNZ hesitating, right? He went back and forth. Is he gonna go for it? Is it just a juke? And then Scigive lands the rail when CNZ isn't even looking in his direction anymore. Now he catches Scigive off guard just before the heavy spawns as well. And he's even going to leave heavy to just push Mega. Really solid play by CNZ. He's gotta be careful because he is lacking stack. Looks like he might even give up heavy. Nope. The LG, too strong, Scigive, too aggressive, didn't have anything to work with other than that heavy nail gun. And at that distance, Dan, it's just too inconsistent.
Yeah, you could see Scigive very quickly realizing he made a huge mistake entering that room and then was caught between two minds whether to commit or run, and now he's trapped CNZ down here. And this is what Scigive's done a good job on the defense so far. The question is, can he now use this pressure, use his advantage to push on through? He struggled with that the first minute. See how he does the second. He has the rail, hasn't got the lightning gun, which is key, which means he can't take a fight on this room, but he's done as most damage as he can with the exit rail. Just needs to get the right weaponry to take these fights, because the LG is such a critical one, and they're both just a bit trepidatious at the moment, catching each other in these choke points. And CNZ deciding to retreat on round, Scigive with the high ground advantage. And this is what he needs to do. He needs to keep this high ground advantage, using that orb to maintain position. At the moment, it looks like he's got the edge on CNZ here. He's the one getting the initiation damage. Just made a few mistakes pushing into that heavy so far.
For the first time, it feels like there is a sizable delay between the items. 10 seconds between heavy and Mega. And now someone might finally set up a solid rotation. Looks like that might be Scigive. He picked up heavy and gets a frag at the perfect time. That was beautiful. And now CNZ, he's got to be careful that this doesn't get out of hand. Good play, I like what he's doing, just completely shutting down the entrance. All he's got to work with is the super shotgun, but he's also got the grenades and the starting stack. And unfortunately for him, doesn't really get him anywhere. Scigive, aggressive on the push, works out nicely, and now has a 3-point lead.
Yeah, so CNZ did a lot of damage there, but it's not going to matter really for anything. Scigive predicting so well, and the Tribot's been unbelievably useful for him. Yes, he's missed out on that, but the damage he did was very, very strong. CNZ, though, this is why he picked the kill. The stack, try and get full map control and play it nice and slow. Scigive, though, has the timing, and he's in there. Does give away the frag, but once again, he's done a lot of damage. The question is, can he now catch CNZ? Well, there we go. There's your answer.
Yep, indeed. Just like that. Starting to slowly close the gap. Still in the first half of the game, so the urgency isn't there yet. He can still play this the way he wants. Slow, calculated, disciplined. He's got to be careful. He's got to be careful. Small overextension misses the entry rail, and Scigive capitalizing off that opportunity beautifully as well.
Struggling to see what CNZ's game plan is. I think we have to obviously credit Scigive, making sure he's doing sufficient damage in and around the map to stop CNZ consolidating his advantage. At the same time, haven't seen anything particularly special from the kill here to suggest why he picked it. But I do really like the use of the nail gun, just the try, but all of this spam. Scigive's really making the most of going up against a kill, making the most of the map as well. Reading CNZ, always doing shit damage, and CNZ's just struggling with that. Every time he enters a room, he's taking damage. Yes, this time it didn't work, but Scigive's doing an amazing job.
CNZ, I feel like, has been consistently overextending. How many frags has he dropped by just pushing into the room with railgun and nothing else? And then look, it's gonna happen again. He shows his face with rail and grenades. Maybe he lands the first shot, maybe he doesn't, but Scigive is instantly on top of him. Machine gun, LG, the nails, they're hitting like a truck, and then CNZ is all of a sudden caught in a situation where he's got nothing to fight at that distance, and he's just caught out with the rail in his hand, and Scigive cleans him up, and I feel like that's cost him, what, 3 or 4 frags already? The exact same way over and over? He's not taking the fights he should.
Yeah. It is a little bit sloppy from CNZ. Once again, he's probably going to give her another frag here, which he does. And it's almost a lack of respect on giving he's giving to Scigive. And I guess the weird, almost psychological aspect is Scigive's doing barely enough damage where it's encouraging CNZ to continue pushing. But CNZ is then running into more and more damage and not executing. It's a weird matchup so far, and you can see the difference. 11-5 now, and we're already 7 minutes into the gameplay. How do you come back as CNZ now? He's shown very little signs of life in terms of controlling the map. Scigive's done a phenomenal job.
Indeed he has, and this is what we want to see. He is in form. But as well as Scigive is playing, I also think that CNZ is making some elementary mistakes, just positioning-wise, weapon choice-wise, being in situations where he has absolutely no business ending up in. And it has cost him so many frags that Scigive, ultimately, I feel like, didn't really have to work that hard for.
Not at all, just good weapon choice from Scigive. Made sure he had the right position. He's actually had better positioning overall than the kill, which just cannot happen. Kill's way too vulnerable not to be controlled the high ground. And yet that's exactly what's happened. You can see once again, every time CNZ's coming around, he's just being peppered with the tribot or the nail gun or some rocket spam. It's not really been these hit scan weapons that have dominated the scene that Scigive's so credited for. It's a smart play.
Taking a look at some of the statistics here. Scigive leading the damage output by around 800 points. Definitely making the most out of the item pickups, it seems. Clear advantage for Scigive there. CNZ primarily making use of the small armors, and that's also indicative that you're unable to pick up as many of the heavies as you would like. But at this point, 1 minute left to go. Especially when you're the slow champion, right? The only way that CNZ is going to get frags is if Scigive comes to him like that. And that's not a mistake that Scigive is going to make 5 times over. He's going to sit back, knows that he's got the orb at the ready in just 2 seconds, and he can run away. He doesn't need to let CNZ catch him if he doesn't want to.
Completely agree. And it's been a rather unusual map, if I'm honest. It doesn't feel like, you know, it doesn't feel like Scigive's got out of his way to put any pressure on. It's been CNZ making the mistakes, as you said, and has seen very little use of the orb, very little use of the grenades overall. Rather unusual match. Feels like CNZ almost just gave it away. And that's not to discredit Scigive. He did exactly what he needed to do time and time again. Just just basic mistakes from CNZ, as you pointed out.
I mean, we were both pretty skeptical of the Keel pick before this even started, right? We both looked at the picks and bans and were like, wait a moment. We framed it nicely, right? Unorthodox, I think we called Keel being played on Insomnia, but I mean, it's worth a shot, of course. If you can indeed set up a solid rotation, stick to that high ground, use those grenades to just clear out areas and stop players from entering the room, then you've got something great going for you. But other than that, Insomnia still is shaping up to be a map where mobility matters a lot. The Ranger Orb, the Athena hook, right? The double jump with Doomslayer we've seen successfully used as well. Yeah, you've got to be ready, and you've got to have something in your toolkit when your opponent is that fast. And unfortunately for CNZ, he just couldn't put out the damage to rival that.
Absolutely. And it wasn't even really mobility that won the day there. It was just playing the basics better. There was so many frags where CNZ gave up by running through a choke point into damage, just mountains of damage from Scigive. But a large part of that is his weapon choice. The nail gun and the tri-ball were so impactful for him. CNZ just couldn't keep up with it at the end of the day, so full credit to Scigive. He just played the basics of that map better, and back to the drawing board for CNZ. I could see the merits of Keel, but he definitely didn't play to how a Keel should be played.
Yeah. Now map 2. Clean slate for CNZ to dive into it once more. This is a little bit risky, because this is the map that I had pinned Scigive to win from the start. So CNZ, in my opinion, is fighting a bit of an uphill battle going into this, right? Athena, she can work, she absolutely can, but Corrupted Keep remains a pretty small map where players tend to see all corners of the arena, right? So it's not like Veil, it's not like Ruins where you've got these little nooks and crannies where you can really hide away the totem for the entire duration. They're much more likely to get cleaned up. So getting that overstack going can be very useful if you do it on the heavy side, because you don't even need to go over to the mega at all, but it is more difficult. And so I think that Scigive running BJ, which is a champion that he's very comfortable with, is the better pick here.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely utility for the Galena. I think the challenge is if you get too focused on trying to build that overstack, that's where you almost become undone. You overcomplicate the game. Galena, for me, on this map is played most effectively when you're using those totems in fight. You're running into a fight, you're chucking it down, you're using it during the fight when you're having LG on LG to get that additional boon. It works in the same way of having an overstack because you heal back up. It is slightly more difficult to execute, but it's cleaner overall. If you try and play around the overstack, you try and force it, you're going out of position, you're wasting totems, then when you get to the fights where you need them, they're not there. That's when you become undone because it's such a combat heavy fight. So if CNZ can use them in that way, absolutely. But then you have a Blazkowicz where you can just click the dual wield. That's all you have to do in that situation.
Well, let us see if CNZ can pull off the totem management the way he needs to bring it to a tight series. Starting it off on CSE's point of view and immediately dropping it just straight in the doorway, not hanging onto it for mid-fight usage. Can he even make his way back onto it? He won't even need to. That LG. Okay. Thunderous 49% of the bat. Hello. That is how you want to start this out. Good showing.
Nice read as well. Realizing Scigive is going to set that trap. Backs on through, but Scigive has already got the speed to get on back through. 1-to-1 already. Scigive cleaning up that totem as well, picking up the necessary items and hit scan weapons to push through. So they are going to trade, as we often see throughout this map. As soon as somebody gets a lockdown, that trap becomes quite difficult to break on back through. CNZ at this moment in time has no weapons to work with, has no lightning gun, no rocket, and this is what Scigive's going to do. He's going to punish it. Totem is dropped. That's smart, not only to use it to block Scigive, so really well played by CNZ in the end.
Both players are at exactly 50% LG. That's nuts. I know we're still in the very early stages and there hasn't been that much damage exchanged, but still. 50% LG, it's not as if they're hitting clutch or anything, right? This is medium on medium, lots of fast movement and dodges. Not easy to track your opponent the way these two players have been.
Yeah, and a huge part of this map is who can get that long mid-range chip damage with the heavy machine gun with the spam. We saw it on the previous game, it was Scigive got the upper hand. The question is, can he do it again on this one? There you go, the tripod once again just being so frustrating for CNZ as he tries to trap Scigive up top. He doesn't want to let him go without at least doing significant damage, and once again pinned him in the same position as the first frag, and he'll scuttle back through for the first full rotation of this map. Oh wow.
It's the stairs, CNZ, or ZSX, it's the stairs, right? You walk down them and you get that little bit of air because you're walking down, you know, the slanted surface, and it can really screw up the way you take these fights and your dodges. And CNZ capitalizing off it perfectly, but he doesn't even need to strap his opponent. Still 48% LG after nearly 1,000 points of damage. Whew. This is what you'd expect from Scigive with the dual wield. This kind of raw damage output during the fights, but no. It's CNZ who's breaking it today.
Yeah, now Scigive's got to fight his way back through. CNZ just holding position to protect this lightning gun area. This time he's got a handle on Scigive. He comes firing on through that doorway with the dual wield to get back into this game, and there's a big split between the major items. The question is, can Scigive get back across? CNZ should be wanting to challenge this, and there he comes flying on through with the nail gun, doing a fair bit of damage. Soda comes down, but it's just too early.
Good pressure from Scigive, getting CNZ right off the spawn. And this is always a critical stage in any corrupted Kyiv game, right? Very often you see that the items for the major items are, well, the timings are pretty much in sync for the first few minutes, but then there comes that critical moment that they get offset. And when one player can take the rotation and really establish dominance. And that's what we're seeing happening right now. And it's Scigive who's making the most of it. He's the one getting megas and heavy back to back. Can CNZ break it? Can he stop the snowball with LG like that? Sure, he can.
What?
Woo! 230 damage I saw coming out. Nuts.
And the dual wield was popped as well.
Yeah.
So really well played by CNZ. Having to backtrack here to try and defend. Can he stop Scigive getting across? Oh, Scigive comes barreling on through the rockets. He gets the frag, but he's taking a lot of damage. Where does CNZ spawn is the question, and it's nowhere near the heavy. So Scigive gets a little bit of a jail-free card there. Now needs to reset. What I'd like to see CNZ do more of is exactly that. I was going to say defend that mid-ground. Stop Scigive getting across the map. And that's exactly what he's done. Scigive's got no weapons now. He comes firing on through with this nail gun from long range. That's a questionable frag to give up. Just before this mega spawn as well. CNZ doesn't know the timing and has given that one up for complete free.
What CNZ needs to be doing is just take LG fights. And then he will win. This is just absurd. 53% LG. 1700 damage so far. Like, he just needs to take LG fights.
Yeah, it's been on fire so far, and I've been enjoying the use of the totems, as we said. Use them in fights to recoup the stack, but it's a brawl, as you said in the intro, an absolute brawl back and forth. CNZ with a 2-frag advantage here, and he will be picking up this mega, this heavy. Scigive going to fall back onto this mega now, but there is enough of a split here for CNZ to pressure, but he hasn't got the weapons.
Getting a hold of his prized LG though. He gets this frag.
As if he can. He just doesn't care if you have two of them.
Scigive is like, I've got a better stack. I've got 2 LGs. Yeah, this is my fight to take. And CNZ's like, no, not today. It isn't. He's got to be careful. He doesn't get overly confident though. That's a good trade that favors CNZ.
Yeah, it really does.
Should be able to get Mega as well. Yep. But Scigive did pick up heavy off the spawn. But he doesn't have LG. And CNZ is not going to give that up for free. He knows exactly where Scigive is. He wants to inflict as much pain and suffering as he can, while keeping the LG behind him, putting himself as a real barrier between that key weapon and his opponents.
I mean, I don't think he really cares if he gets it. The way he's been manhandling Scigive, but either way, you don't want him to get it. The Jubal comes out again. He really needs this mega. But CNZ actually drops in behind him somehow, sneaks it away. Okay, that worked.
Yeah, somehow. Like, what Scigive needs to do, because we've been talking a lot about what CNZ has to do, Scigive has to not take fights at LG range. I think that's going to be the key part of his comeback. Now, you probably would have thrown some more, you know, adjectives and whatnot in there and explained it a bit better in the context of this match, but that's really what Scigive has to do. Don't engage at LG range. Get close with dual shoddy or dual rockets. That is how you come back into this fight.
Yeah, because it's not even as if CNZ's been setting up for these mid-range fights. It's more been Scigive trying to initiate them and CNZ just winning them, to put it bluntly. So it has to play around the corners, and CNZ's retreating a little bit here, playing defensive, kiting Scigive in. And that will not work out in his favor, as Scigive has the opportunity to take both major items, and I don't like that decision by CNZ. He could easily have picked up one of those major items, I feel.
Little slap on the butt. Oh, the second rocket. That's going to make Scigive think twice before engaging. I like what CNZ's doing. He definitely has realized that it's still way too early to just go plus back full on defensive, so he's still making moves on the items. Scigive can barely drop onto it. Did you see he was pushing forward? But he could barely walk off the ledge because the LG knockback was so extreme. Scigive now is hurting. Has to get out of there, but he is in a good position to take heavy. I don't think that CNZ has got any business showing his face around the armor. He is just going to try and recover. Needs some more rocket ammo, some small armors. And now he can set up for Mega. Oh, good rockets. But not enough. Not enough to dislodge his opponent from that item.
Scigive, yeah, he's looking a little bit out of ideas now, and so would I if you're just getting beaten that badly in straight up LG fights. Since he's had a few of these fights, he had no right to win. Was a minute and a half to go now. Okay, it's hard to see what Scigive can do.
Death is the only release. I will not
there has been a remarkable lack of cessing in this matchup. If you look at the statistics, 40 damage with heavy machine gun by Scigive versus 90 by CNZ. They've barely used it. Usually it's kind of like the replacements of the railgun. It's its alternative for those long distance fights. But so far, it's always either been really up close and personal or LG mid-range. No damage from a distance, no just kind of putting a dent in your opponent's stag. This has been a brawl once again. Oh, out comes the gauntlet. He ran out of ammo right there. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
as the clock winds down now, they're just almost having a little bit of fun as this will go to a 1-to-1 series. Gotta say that CNZ's aim was looking scary, but Scigive, I felt he still played a solid duel. It's just that he got outgunned in a couple of situations.
Yeah. This LG by CNZ is just not something that we've seen all that often, I feel like. Of course, he's never been, you know, oh man, this player's aim is not up to par with the rest, but this is remarkable. Finishing at 47%, but he was well into the 50s at several points. Like, this is a very impressive performance. And Scigive, indeed, even with the dual wield, he just wasn't able to match that kind of damage output, and it ended up constantly costing him at that mid-range, which is so important on Corrupted Keep. And ultimately, I feel like Scigive was a little slow to adapt to that. You know, I think that he could have made a conscious decision earlier in the game to go for, you know, shoddy and rockets up close, or either more heavy machine gun from a distance. But instead, he continued to kind of take the similar fights in similar situations, and CNG just had his number.
Well, yeah, and then that's exactly the counter opposite to what we saw in map 1, where Scigive was being incredibly proactive with the spam, with the initiation damage, whereas here, you're completely right. It was all or nothing. You can see this particular fight here, just he even drops onto the Mega mid-fight and still loses out. And at the end of the day, you pick the Blazkowicz to outgun your opponent, not to get almost half of the LG damage of CNZ. 3,400
Yep.
damage. That's more damage than most people get on this map, full stop. And he got it with just one weapon. So that was scary from CNZ. And Scigive will go back to the drawing board now. I mean, we're moving on to a map where you don't have to go into those level of one-on-one exchanges, but you're right. The lack of a plan B was a little bit concerning from Scigive's point of view.
Now Railgun back on the menu. Right, we have seen that be the star weapon of several players today, most notably Dramas, really leaning heavily on that weapon, and of course to great effect. Once again, congratulations to him, but now it is back in the pool. Corrupted Keep is the only map that doesn't have it. Let's see if this changes the outcome, right? In map 1, we saw a fair bit of Railgun use, although it wasn't particularly dominant from either player, so I'm not expecting it to be, you know, that one critical factor that settles the map on this map. I think much more important is the Athena at play. The speed, the mobility, both horizontally as well as vertically, whereas, of course, Scigive is trying to counter by running the Doomslayer, the double jump. That's something that we saw lacking a bit when Dramas tried to take on Athena on the same map by using the Ranger. So now CNZ does have, or Scigive rather, does have that consistent passive that will help him with some mobility in these fights.
And that's it. For me, Scigive needs to slow the pace down, as he did on map 1 to some extent, get that high ground, use the double jump, and just slowly strangle the life out of the Athena in that way. Put the pressure on CNZ to make some of these moves, because that's not always what you want to be doing as an Athena. And as you pointed out as well, the Railgun is obviously going to be absolutely critical. So let's see what they can both bring with that side of things.
We're starting it off on the perspective of CNZ. The Athena, I like what he's doing. Such a slow play. Scigive landing the rail though. Yeah, that was important. CNZ was not expecting Scigive to just land that shot, I think, at that range. Probably ended up saving Scigive even. Otherwise, I imagine that CNZ would have tried chasing through the teleporter or maybe even hooked straight up. So far, pretty respectful start, and I think that you know, that's kind of showing to Scigive what kind of a game CNZ might be looking to play, right? If your opponent starts with a shotgun trap like that, you know he's going to try and pull out everything from the back to take you down. So Scigive will be watching his back.
CNZ playing slow and respectful. Just want to get the items, work his way into the game. And again, that's just something we didn't see in map 1, and this is a symptom of when you do play a heavy. You have that confidence just to push on through, and that you have the stack at all times. At least when you're playing a light now, you understand you have to play more strategically, build your way into the game, and that's exactly what CNZ's done here. Even now, he's got Scigive low, he's playing it nice and slow, making sure he doesn't take unnecessary damage before closing out the frag, trying to force that spawn frag as well. He knows he's not on the high ground, therefore he's on the low ground. Scigive coming through the TP is a little bit greedy, but he's hit 2 rails, which is nice, and a third. The question is, can he close it out? They're both extremely low. Mega's still not up, though. I mean, CNZ can get on the high ground, try and rain down some pain from above, but what a rail from Scigive.
Excellent shot. Scigive had his number, figured out exactly what CNZ was going for, trying to clear some of those resources, those health bubbles, get himself in position. And so he landed the flyby shot out of the teleporter. I wonder how Scigive is going to approach this in terms of LG, because if he takes LG on LG fights against CNZ, and CNZ continues hitting the same way he was earlier, now he's also got the advantage of having a smaller hitbox, and those are not fights that Scigive is going to win. So he's once again going to have to play around that. Don't engage at medium distance, just depleting your stack, because CNZ, if he keeps this up, he should be the one to take you down pretty much every single time. So Scigive has to find an alternative playstyle to deal with it.
Absolutely, and now the challenge is there's a huge difference in timing between the 2 major items, and CNZ's got to want to do some serious damage before this next pickup, just so he can get it safely. And there he is, he jumps on through, gets the frag he so desperately wants, and he gets the item as well to boot. Could take control of the high ground and really limit the pressure from Scigive. He misses a critical rail as well, and the second. It's going from bad to worse for the American as CNZ pushes his advantage.
Oh, good read, nice timing as well, yeah.
He's taking a lot of damage though, but
yeah,
question is, what can Scigive do now? He comes on through with the starting shotgun, but it's too predictable.
Good positioning by CNZ as well, going all the way back to that final pillar, because he knew that Scigive would be looking for him elsewhere.
What rockets?
Yeah, that was something special. Scigive, of course, well known the skill with that weapon. And CNZ had significant stack advantage right there, but he was outgunned. All he had was the machine gun. I don't know about that one. CNZ should have either pushed right off the bat when he had that stack advantage and trust the machine gun.
Oh, what a trap.
Or not go there. But that works, yeah.
That worked. No, but
it's the same thing you tried at the start, right? Wait around the corner with the super shotgun and the hook. Last time it didn't work, now it does. Oh
no way!
Oh, well, the dodging when you're using the Berserk, it's tricky, it's fast. And then, of course, you've got that knockback as well. The CNC. Did he have a hook at already? Did he have one to maybe get himself back in? I didn't see. It was on Scigive's point of view.
I don't think he did, but he got knocked so far off the map.
Scigive just juked his opponent and sent him flying out of the arena. This could be the start of a comeback, but look at the stack that CNZ's already got to work with. That speed is proving so instrumental in quickly getting on the items before Scigive has a chance. I like the safety hook right there from CNZ. He was clear from the gap, but he still went for the hook just in case, because he wasn't sure if he'd fall in. So better safe than sorry, I fully agree. Good play.
That's nice by CNC, just to use an advantage to sweep up the entire map as well and keep Scigive on the ropes. Yes, he's keeping himself alive, but it feels like a matter of time until he dies. And there you go, CNC finds his opening just before the Mega as well. And so very methodical here from CNZ as he's slowly building into this lead and not taking any unnecessary risk, because Scigive's doing an amazing job to keep in this set. He's been under tremendous pressure, but some of the clutch rails have been critical to keep him from snowballing. But it does feel now that CNZ is able to push that initiative as time and time again he's picking up these clean frags, and Heavy is completely for free, and Scigive is stuck down below with very little to work with. He's going to do some significant damage with the lightning gun, but again, it's just before a major item, so it's almost irrelevant.
Nice opening rail there. Scigive keeps looking for a way in, but shots like that, it's going to keep him at a distance and allow CNZ to just remain in full control of these items. And then, yeah, Scigive gets a little antsy, you know, feels like he has to make a move, and CNZ is right there waiting for him. Oh, he still fell down. I thought CNZ figured that Scigive would make it on top. He didn't. If it's CNZ had just stuck around for a moment longer, that should have gotten him another frag.
Still not over though. We've seen bigger comebacks on this particular map, and Doom is a champion where you can forge that. You have the maneuverability to do so. Obviously Athena is tricky, but she's still a light champion. Scigive's definitely shown more than enough signs of life to keep in this set.
Absolutely, but 5 frags, 4 minutes against an Athena. That's a tall order. She's just got so much speed on you, even if you have the better stack. Even if you have full control, all CNZ needs to do is land some of those rails while keeping his distance. Looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. Look at how he's playing this. He's just set up in a corner of the map, waiting, listening out for Scigive.
Just running down the clock, and at the same time, you know, making his opponent second guess himself. He's just won himself the Mega by being a trickster. He's completely nullified by Scigive immediately as he's caught him up at the rail, but he's still hesitant to push into CNZ. And he's wasted another minute of time, leaving only 2 minutes for Scigive to work with.
I don't see it as feasible anymore at this point, especially with how CNZ has been playing. He's so slippery, not giving up too many angles. And see, when Scigive does catch him out, that's what he does. out he goes. Picks away some health bubbles, takes away his small armor as well, and just like that, even if Scigive gets the frag now, it will have cost him, what, 20 seconds? He gets it, he makes it work, but still, how much time did that cost him, right? That was like 25 seconds between when he first caught sight of CNZ and when he got the frag, and he just doesn't have that time.
It's so incredibly frustrating because you have to be absolutely perfect, then you have to try and big brain your opponent, but at the same time, even if you catch them, it's an Athena with a grapple. She can normally get away from you in an instant. And if you're not hitting absolutely everything, she's gone and restacked, and that's exactly what's happening for Scigive at this point in time.
Yep.
Look at him desperately trying to go in, and then just when he's chasing, CNZ turns it around, turns the game on its head, and that in itself probably settles things as Scigive just hasn't got the time or the stack to pick up 4 frags. He loses out on the heavy as well to rub more salt into the wound. And it's 45 seconds until CNZ will take this one 2-1.
Deserved victory. I think everyone, or at least both of us, were expecting CNZ to take it, right? I think you said 3-0. I went for the 2-1, little safer bet. But in the end, it will be the Estonian player to come out on top. And this is a remarkable day for Dragonborn Esports, right? Both CNZ as well as Dram is winning their games, and Dram is taking out Rafa of all people.
Yeah, in one of the best sets we've seen, at least this season, if not for the past few seasons. And this was more of a clinical performance from CNZ. We think back to map 1. It was an unusual map. Again, an unusual, unorthodox pick as we spoke. But even the way it was played, it was uncharacteristic from CNZ. A bit of an off game from him, but at the same time, nice strategy from Scigive. Just abused the fact he's playing against a kill. Just every time CNZ wanted to push, he punished him. And that's all he really needed to do in that game. He wasn't stretched too far. Map 2 just completely outgunned by CNZ, and then map 3, as you saw, kind of frustrated, trying to catch an Athena after losing the lead early on.
Yeah, indeed, Scigive, he made a valiant effort, still brought it back to a 3-point game, but ultimately the speed and the mobility proved to be too much for even the Doomslayer to handle. So CNZ got everything back in order for map 2 and 3. Indeed, that first one, Insomnia, the Keel pick, we said it ourselves, unorthodox, proved ultimately to be his downfall too, right? He could have played it much better in the end, but the Keel definitely didn't help. So I expect we're not going to see the big man picked all that often on that map, especially not by CNZ, I reckon, unless he's building some greater strategy. But yeah, 2-1 for CNZ. Lovely series overall. This was the first time that they have ever played in the Quake Pro League, so finally have a data point on how they fare against one another, and congratulations CNZ.
Congratulations indeed. Good series overall, and CNZ continuing to build his way up the leaderboard. I think this is a season where he really can make a mark. We've already seen some good runs in the end tournaments, but I think he's somebody who can go further. Scigive will remain pretty much at the bottom of the leaderboard, unfortunately, as he's met his match, and CNZ, he's somebody who's picking up maps, but he's not converting it to series. So that's something he needs to look at, and he's been struggling, I guess, for a couple of stages now. So it'd be nice to see him move his way up the leaderboard, but it's really hard. It's really competitive. We're in this global league, and so it's going to be a long road for Scigive, I'm sure. But having seen Sparty get dismantled earlier, there'll be some signs of life, I'm sure, coming out of him. But either way, we will be running over to the break and getting back with the moment you've all been waiting for, which is DJ Wheat. So see you then.